Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Robin here. Thanks for joining me on Oracle Rising today. Namaste, guys. So I'm here to help you guys with a couple things, your spiritual journey, escaping the matrix, and also healing trauma. Okay, so what I wanted to focus on today is things that are really childhood trauma, things that we could have suffered for, our children could have suffered, our friends' kids. So this is maybe even your friends. Okay, so this is going to try and help you understand things that don't necessarily look like what people would identify as trauma, like physical or emotional abuse, just things that are really traumatic that people would automatically think of when you say the word trauma. Okay, so healing ourselves is the most important thing that we can do. Okay, so I want you guys to let me know in the comments if you've ever had to deal with this. Honestly, guys, so obviously I've been a child and it wasn't that great. And I've also been a parent. So, I wish I could have done a better job. I did the best that I could. So anyway, we're talking about these things so that you can help understand yourself, provide forgiveness to people that might not have been in the best space to, take care of you the way that you deserved. Maybe even identify any patterns that you could have displayed as a parent towards your child. Maybe offer an apology, who knows? And maybe just understanding the collective a little bit. If you've got a friend that is saying, hey, this happened to me as a child, and you're thinking, well, that doesn't sound that bad to me, but it can actually have long-lasting, damaging effects that need to be worked on. Okay, so the first thing that I have is like having to fend for yourself. Do you know what I mean? It's like not having a parent or guardian there to get up in the morning and help you make breakfast. And it's a really lonely journey for a child, especially if they're just being sort of pushed off, just go do it yourself, or the parent can't be bothered to get out of bed. And I know that people are working insane hours and there's a lot going on. And something that I wanted to say about the things I'm going to talk about, this is not just a one-off case. Okay, if this happened like one morning, hey, go pour your own bowl of cereal or something like that, I'll be there as soon as I can. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about repeated, constant, offenses, and they are offenses to children, okay? Because children don't know what's going on, and they do tend to blame themselves first because they don't have the mental capacity to understand that what is happening to them is a result of somebody else's decision and not them being, just ignored, which is also happening, okay? So having to fend for yourself, little kids, they need help. I mean, there was things that I did. I would get up before my family. I would put everything out on the table. I would pick out their outfits until they expressed an interest in getting their own outfits ready. Like, I did things for my kids until they were ready to start asking to do them themselves. Okay, so I think that's a really important thing if you're just starting to have a family, is just to really look at where your child is. And no two children are the same, so they'll want to do things and have different milestones, but really being a parent until you can step back. And that is a really delicate balance, okay? Like, you can go from being a helicopter parent or to just being an absent parent that is like knocked out on the couch while the kid is, burning their hand on the stove or something like that. So having to fend for themselves. I won't get into like things that I've seen or things that I've heard of, but anyway, lack of emotional support. Okay, so this is something that really happened to me as a child. I think my dad always wanted me to be tougher, but I was just a kid. I was like 5, and if I would get hurt, he would laugh at me, just toughen up. And he would just really say, like, I'm sorry, bullshit things like that to me as a kid. And that would just add another layer of pain on top of pain, okay? My mom, she was just nowhere, like, she was there, but she was just not, like, she was looking back on it now, I could see that she was really like incapacitated on a mental level. Okay. She was just fully checked out. She was just like a ghost. Okay. But as a child, I didn't know that. So she looked like this super cold, like super uncaring, and maybe she was, I don't know, but there was zero emotional support for me growing up. I did not grow up around my extended family, and then when I was around them, there was no relationship, and it was very detached. And so anyway, I had a complete lack of emotional support probably until I had my own kids, and then that was the first really strong emotional bond that I ever had. So, um, like growing up in that void, I can tell you from personal experience, man, it just like, I didn't know what love was. Honestly, I was just absolutely left out in the cold. I had no idea what it was like to be comforted or, protected. It was just really, it was a very lonely existence. Okay. So this third one here is really important to self-soothing. Just letting a kid go figure it out by themselves instead of giving them the space to be able to express it. Their emotions, because you notice that babies, they don't come with the capacity to speak, right? So they cry, and they cry different cries to let you know if they're hungry, if they need a diaper change, if they need a cuddle, like something like that. And again, this is like goes hand in hand with the lack of emotional support. Okay. The self-soothing, people could just let their child cry and cry and cry and cry with no attention, and that is very difficult. And again, I want to reiterate, this is not the like, I'm exhausted as a parent, I'm gonna let the baby cry for a little while, or like, there is certain times when as a parent you could be feeling really frustrated or even a little bit angry, so you let the baby cry so you don't pick them up in the wrong mood or whatever. Okay, like being a parent is very complex. So but constantly doing that, I mean, it's so heartbreaking to me to let the baby cry, or and this could go on and on as the child grows up. Well, I don't have anything to say to you. Like, and some people, they just shouldn't have children, okay? They just shouldn't, because they're not prepared for it. So this is something that also affected me too, not being accepted for who you are. Okay, there are kids that they are not able to express themselves for who they are in their own home. Okay, so you've got all this other stuff going on, and I find that it's multiple things, right? That it's not just one thing that happens. So it could be any or all of this list that you're going through. 9 times out of 10, like, I was told to shut up and just go to my room. So I spent a lot of time by myself when I was a kid. Okay, so I see this happening in great big waves right now. People, they don't feel like they fit into their own body, or they want to pursue a certain career, but their parents want them to do something else. Or maybe you're just sort of the black sheep of the family, or you're the weird one and everybody else looks at you like, a great big fat hairy spider. This is all very damaging. Okay, so and honestly, I've seen that in my friend group too, where a close friend of mine, she just couldn't stand her daughter, and I was so mind blown by that. Like, this is your child. Like, how do you not like them, or how are you not making the effort? And she said to me, she's ruining my life. And I said, you know what? She's ruining her own life right now. Like, this is like, the way you're treating her is like pushing her into just a really wrong path. Okay, so again, parenting, it's not easy, especially if you're not prepared for it. If you haven't, you have to read books, in my opinion. Like, I grew up with my kids, right alongside them, and I actually read psychological hold on for a second. I was trying to remember the name of the magazines that I was reading, but it was a child like parenting magazine, and it had psychological tips for age ranges. So, like, obviously, your child's brain is going to evolve, and I'm talking about you too as a child, you know. So, if somebody can't meet you at your psychological needs at that stage of development, it can be very, very, very tricky, okay? So again, not being accepted for who you are, like in your own home, that's really terrible. And so far, guys, I've had every single one of these things happen to me, okay? I was just a very, very, very lonely child. It took me a long, long, long time to recover from all of this stuff. Like, I want to say that I have forgiven my parents, but the cycles kept on repeating into my adulthood. So quite frankly, I just cut them off. And that might sound really brutal, but they're not nice people. Okay. So this is something that's really important too, for you guys to realize. If you're the child in this child adult relationship, you know, sometimes blood isn't thicker than water. And sometimes you need to protect your own energy and just, you know, either minimize conversations with people, minimize the attachment, or just cut them off. And I know lots of people that don't speak to their parents anymore because their parents were so damaging, okay? So you need to make whatever choice is healthiest for you, whichever end of the spectrum is. Like, if you're at the parenting end or if you're at the child, you know, healing, just make your own decision and try not to feel bad about it. And don't let other people make you feel bad about it too, because I take quite a bit of flack for not having a relationship with my parents. But anyway, we'll move on. So being deprioritized, I mean, that just speaks for itself. Like, you don't matter, you know? You just don't matter. You just don't even get a second look, you know? Everything else has to come first. Like, and this can be very tricky again for parents that have to work multiple jobs. It can feel like the child is being deprioritized, like they don't have any space of value in the parent's life. So this is where, like, if you're gonna be caught in that, you guys, and I had to work 2 and 3 jobs when I was raising my kids too. I mean, it was very, very, very difficult. So you have to do the additional work of like being there for your kids in any other way that you can. Okay, so that was a very tricky spot for me. I was exhausted, but I tried to spend as much time with my kids as I could. But anyway, I'll just move on. And having to compete for love. Okay, so the favorite child thing. Or you could be an only child and you could be competing for love against your parents' friend group. You know what I mean? So anyway, parents that obviously designate a favorite child and treat them that way, I just don't even know if they realize what damage they're doing to their other children. Okay, so I mean, bonds are really different between kids. There's always a love there, or I guess in some cases not, but oh man, to have that feeling in the shadow of my parents love my other sibling more than me, and then of course again the child is going to blame themselves. Okay, so there's so much heartbreak in these things that a child has to live, and then they're going to cycle that into whatever is going to control their brain for the rest of their life. Okay, so these are all very, very damaging things. Okay, so you might even need, like, if you guys went through this, you might need counseling. I don't know, like, what it's gonna take to help you break free if any or all of these happen to you. I mean, there's things that you can do. You can write a letter to your parents and never mail it. That's a trick that my grandmother taught me. You know, she would write a letter, and when things stopped bothering her that she put in the letter, she would cross them off. Okay. For me, I actually wrote letters and I mailed them because there was just such ignorance there. And I know I'm talking about myself a little bit, but I want you guys to know that, I'm sitting here now in front of you having gone through quite a bit of pain and trauma, and it can come to an end, and you can master your emotions, and you can master your thoughts, and you can issue apologies and forgiveness to people that you never even thought deserved them in the first place. Okay, so something to know about forgiveness really quickly: it is for yourself, not for the other person. You can forgive somebody and still have a boundary. You can forgive somebody and still not allow them back into your life. Okay, so these are all very, very difficult things to deal with. And if you compound them, you could be an absolute disaster, right? And then have to spend a significant portion of your adult life trying to figure out why you feel alone, why you feel like not worthy of love. Okay, so if you're really still struggling with childhood trauma, you guys, I really want to recommend that you see somebody that's an expert. Things like meditation and cord cutting and doing the apology letter or the forgiveness letter, those can all be really helpful. But it's really, if it's stuck in your head, please get some help so you can get back to your whole self as soon as possible. There should be free resources in any city that you live in. Maybe just look for free, like psychiatric or psychological or therapy or something like that. Go get yourself in to talk to somebody. If you recognize these patterns in what you're doing as a parent, please seek help too, because I read this last night. A child's shoulders are not strong enough to carry the burden of the parent. Okay, so I'm here to support you guys in whatever you're going through. Okay, so if you're struggling as a parent and you just don't know how to do it, I'm here to help you guys. If you are a trauma survivor and you don't know how to heal yourself, I'm here to support you guys. Let me know in the comments how I can help you. So this was a really deep one, but the more you heal yourself, the more you can help heal the planet and other people. So on that note, guys, I'm going to go. So do take care of yourselves. Namaste. Love and light. Bye.